Hello, crypto boys and ghouls, and welcome back to the channel, Tales from the Cryptmancer, where we feature content on play-to-earn games on the blockchain, such as Splinterlands. And in today's video, which is actually probably our third video for today, but I wanted to talk about why I remain bullish on Splinterlands and the long-term success of this game. And it really comes back to the reason why I felt confident in investing money in Splinterlands, well, almost a year ago when I got first introduced to it. And it's because of, honestly, the development team and the founders here. So I'm talking about Matt and Agrid and others in the way that they have a vision, they execute on the vision, they deliver value to the players in the ecosystem for the game, and really they've built a lot of trust, at least a lot of capital of trust in my mind, with the communication, with the decisions that they've made, and where they have made some mistakes, they've owned up to those and they've made steps to correct those. And today, what I wanted to focus on is what I saw recently in the updates for today's most recent announcement after the town hall that Hardpoint had talked about. And I want to talk about why it's important and why I remain so bullish on the project and the game, and why I think it's really a diamond in the space here, because this is truly a project that almost with each passing day that I get, I still certainly remain confident in the project in this bear market, and I'm not concerned, at least at this point, on the direction of the project and ultimately its success. And let me talk again about why I think that. So on July 13th, which was just 5 days ago, I was actually en route to a sports training lesson for my son, and I got the notification that Matt was going live on voice chat in the Mavericks channel and was asking some questions to the Mavs about the ECR challenges that we've had with bot farms and some of the data around reward distribution. And I had just pulled into the parking lot for that lesson, and I was able to listen for a couple minutes to what Matt was asking, and kind of his views and his concerns on the topic. And for me, I thought this was excellent because, one, it showed that Matt is humble and is open to reaching out to vested stakeholders in the community to get their thoughts. Now, obviously, there was a ton of suggestions provided via the voice chat, via the text chat, and I'm sure Matt was overwhelmed by the response. But just the fact that he came to ask the opinion of the community, I thought was a great gesture. We don't see that a lot from our leaders in perhaps government or just in anything in general. Maybe your own homeowners association doesn't even ask you for your inputs. But here in Splinterlands, they do. And not only ask you for inputs, but actually, take it seriously. And one of the things while I was sitting in my car, listening to Matt talk about the ECR issue, and I obviously am very familiar with it. I made videos on the topic, and I chatted on Mav Chat about it with some of Commander's Cast data points. And what I had responded to was initially this response, and I tagged about Matt, and I said, hey, just off the top of my head, ECR reduction per battle as a formula where you have a ramped up reduction based on the number of battle played in the last 24 hours, basically greater than 50. And 50 was an arbitrary number, just kind of as a baseline. And basically it was an ECR ramp to discourage basically bot farmers that are just spamming battles for rating inflation purposes and for reward farming. And it's not perfect on the math here that we propose, but it was just a suggestion that I wanted to throw out there because in my mind, it was simple, it didn't require a lot of coding, and it would work to address the problem that Matt was asking to fix. And I further clarified this in a subsequent post there a few minutes later, saying where 49 is an arbitrary number, where humans don't usually play beyond daily, but bot farmers certainly do. This creates an ECR ramp at that sane battle point where if bots players play beyond that, they will rapidly draw down to 0% ECR. This was my initial thoughts, basically, off the cuff, kind of giving some suggestions. And, as I went back and continued on with my day and got back home, I actually published a video shortly thereafter, which was talking about the ECR and rating inflation, and I proposed the suggestion, but just to simplify the proposal, I just said, hey, at 50 battles, or whatever that arbitrary battle point is, 50, 70, 100, whatever it is, just cut off rewards and rating points at that point. And this was a video that I'll provide a link in the video description below. We can see the proposal, the talk of the problem, and why it was relevant to the discussion. And again, what we saw today being published by the Splinterlands dev team at Hardpoint talking about it today is this ECR formula update. Now remember, these suggestions that I had kind of posted on the Mav chat in response to Matt's question was just 5 days ago. And we're seeing a response already saying, hey, ECR formula updates. Going forward, when a player wins a ranked battle and their ECR is below 50% at the start of the battle, their ECR will be reduced by 5% instead of the typical 1%. There will be no change to the ECR formula when ECR is above 50%, which takes about 70 battles in a day to reach. So this change will have no effect for the majority of players. We hope that this change, combined with a change in minimum rental time to 2 days, should help to further reduce ECR-based exploits. And for me, obviously, it's not exactly apples to apples on the change that I proposed and the change they implemented. It's very similar, as you can see. But I won't say it's the end-all be-all solution, and there's probably be some adjustments and modifications as data comes back to the Splinterlands dev team with this change that's going into effect on July 21st. But the point here is not to necessarily toot my own horn or anything like that. It's really more to go back to the point that is relevant to all players and investors and asset holders in Splinterlands, is that the team here is open to suggestions from the community where they make sense, and certainly not opposed to taking ideas and putting them into the game. Now, obviously, this is probably not a catastrophic idea where it's going to break the game if it goes south. So, that's good, but it's not like they're putting willy-nilly changes into the game. I'm sure Matt has thought about it and has modeled it, and it seems to make sense for him to put this into the game. But again, the takeaway here is that as we move the game into validator nodes from a architecture perspective, and we get the governance voting in place for the SPS DAO, this is where the future of the game is going, where people like yourself and myself, who are obviously invested in the game, know how the game works, want to see the best for the game's future, we're ultimately going to be responsible for guiding kind of the rudder here and steering the ship in the right direction over time as part of the SPS governance and the DAO. So we're already seeing that take place. Obviously, Splinterlands as the dev team has ultimate control over the project and the game at this point, but they're showing that from a philosophical perspective, they're certainly open to feedback, to input, and definitely open to implementing suggestions like this into the game where it makes sense. That's why, when they talked today on the town hall about the feedback.splinterlands.com site and bringing up specific changes or suggestions that the team should implement, I think this is great. It again reinforces why I am so bullish on the game, because, the game's not being run from the ivory tower, where just one or two people are directing things and have no idea what's really going on the ground in the community and with people playing the game. So for me, this is very bullish. I still remain very positive because of this, which is one of the main reasons why I initially invested and put assets and time into this game, is because, well, the team was very impressive. And over time, they continue to build trust. They continue, in my mind, to make good decisions. And that's all I can ask for as essentially, a stakeholder in this whole journey. So there you have it, my story, kind of my context, and again, why I am reassured that this is definitely a project that I want to continue to be involved in, continue to be passionate about. And yes, everything's not going to be all rosy all the time. We are in a bear market, but at the same time, the decisions that are made now in the bear market, if they're good decisions, good strategy, good vision, will certainly bear fruit in a bull market. And we know that the bear market will not last forever. So again, long story short, I remain very bullish on Splinterlands, the project, the development team, and this is just one of the reasons why. So hats off to Matt, Hardpoint, the team, for listening to the community, for trying to improve exploits and close those loopholes and make for a better economy and a better game experience for all of us that play the game. So thank you, Matt and team, and we look forward to seeing what other updates here are around the corner in Q3 and Q4 here according to the roadmap. So what are your opinions on this? Is this a good change? Is it a bad change? Or am I to blame for the future downfall of Splinterlands? I jest there, of course. Hopefully that is not the case. But leave your comments in the video description below. And until next time, keep stacking those stats.